Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Philip and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a game on Scratch where we're going to, as you can see, there's a tunnel and sometimes there's these blocks that are shooting at you, and we are going to create this tunnel using, it's not a backdrop, we're just going to be using a lot of clones and it'll make it look like it's coming towards you. So let's get started. Click the create button, and the first thing we're going to do is get the sprite that's going to make up the tunnel. So here we can paint a sprite, and let's zoom out because we're going to need the sprite to come out of the screen. So it's going to be something like this. Okay, so let's get this. And make sure you're in vector, because if you're in bitmap, it does not let you make any shape outside of this main square. So here, that's too thick, and we're going to have to make that smaller here. So we got to make like that, something like that. And then we got to copy and paste it. And then we got to use we'll use the arrows and try to get it right on the same level. And then we can move it down. And that should be too small of an opening. So that should be okay. And now let's make sure we get rid of the outline, because they're all going to fit together and it's just going to not look as cool if there's an outline. So let's get rid of the outline for both of these. And then let's center it. Alright, now we can go back to the code, and basically what we're going to do is when green flag clicked, it needs to forever create clones of itself. So create clone of myself, and then we needed to wait a bit because we do not want the clones to like overlap each other on the screen. So we can wait not 1 second, but like 0.1 seconds. Let's try that. And then we need to hide the sprite at the beginning. And when I start as a clone, we need to first show, because it's going to appear hidden, because this original sprite is hidden. So when I start as a clone, show, and then we needed to forever just change its x by negative something. So here we go. Change x by, let's try minus 10, and we'll change that if we need to later. And then if it touches this edge, the sprite, if it touches this edge, then we'll just delete it. So if, make sure it's in the forever, if, and then we're not going to do if touching edge, because at the very beginning here it gets created on an edge, so it just won't work. So we need to do if x position is smaller than, and then as we know, the edge of the screen here, this edge of the screen is negative 240, and since this sprite is kind of like, it's not just a very small line, it's very wide, so we're going to need to not do if x position is smaller than negative 240, it's going to be something more. So negative 230, for example, or 35 actually. And then we're going to do delete this clone in that if. And we can see it works, but the weight is too much because it's creating clones to, oops, what did I do? There it is, 0.01. And at the beginning, we need it to go all the way here on the right side of the screen. So go to X, let's try, it's 240 because that's this side of the screen, and then Y we can try like 0 for now. So we can see that it works, but there's too much of a gap between each clone. So here we can change Y by something less, like minus 5. And we can see that here it's just like one piece now. So, and when it gets to this side, it deletes the clone. So that is pretty much good. Now, as we can see, this tunnel here is just basically in one straight line here. So it's just a very straight thing, and that's not really how tunnels are. So we can change that and make it go, because we want it to go sometimes up, sometimes down, like a random. So we can use the pick random, and we have to put it in the y. So we'll go to y pick random, and then we can do -10 to 10. And as you can see, each clone is either higher or lower. So let's make this cat a bit smaller so I can show you something. Because if you just start this program and this cat just runs around the middle, there's nothing that will touch it. So the tunnel sides will not touch it. So you don't even have to move the cat. That is because each clone has its own limited amount of space it can go in. So it's this pick random from only -10 to 10. So here we can see it only goes from as this little space that it has to pick from. So we want to make wherever it goes depend on the clone right before it. So we can do that by making a variable, and we can call it something like last tunnel block and then y, because it's going to be the y. So last tunnel block y. Okay, and here we can only show this. And at the beginning, we want to set last tunnel block y to 0. So it's already set to 0. And then right here, not in this forever, but when I start as a clone, we just wanted to set last tunnel block y to the y position. So then here we have to go to x240. That stays the same. And then here, the y, it goes to this variable plus pick random. So let's get that. Here we go. And let's try it. And you can see that now, when the cat just stays on the middle, it gets hit sometimes. So that is good. But it's not perfect. So what I mean by it's not perfect is because these clones still have a pretty limited amount of space, but they have more space than before. So what we want to do is basically, if this pathway right here is going down, then we want it to continue going down until it reaches a very low spot, and same for up. If it's going up, then we want it to keep on going up till it reaches a spot where it's too high. Or if we make, for example, a pick random, and then it from 1 to 10, and it equals, for example, 1, then it will do the same thing. It will change its direction. So we can make a variable to do that. And we can call this tunnel direction. Direction. Whoops. Direction. And okay. And at the beginning, we want to set tunnel direction to, well, we're going to say up is going to be 1 and down is going to be -1. So at the beginning, we can just set it to up, I guess. And then we can replace this, go to x and y, and we can make it two ifs, one of them saying if tunnel direction equals 1, then we need to go to this variable plus a number. So we can get the if. So we can kick that out and that. And if tunnel direction equals 1, which is up, like I said earlier, then we will go to this. So go to x 240. And y last tunnel block, y plus, let's try 5. And we can duplicate this because we will need one for up and one for down. And then we can put it in the code. And let's zoom out because, oh, whoops. So we can see it better. So if tunnel direction equals 1, this one was good, we just did it, so we just have to change this one for down. So if it equals -1, and here it needs to be last tunnel block y plus, oh, it needs to be -5, so we can just make this plus -5. Here, plus -5. And then we can test it, and we can see that it works. It goes up, and that's like what we told it to do, so that's good. So now we have to do the next step, where we're just going to make an if first, and we're basically going to say if last tunnel block y is greater than something close to this edge, so something close to 180, which we can do 170, that should be good. Whoops. And if that is true, we can put that there. Whoops, no, not there. Right there. What happened? Alright, so we can put that right there. Oh my god. We can put that right there, and if that happens, then we need to set tunnel direction to, since it was going up, because up will be 170, so if it was 1, so now we have to set it to -1, because it needs to go lower if it goes too high. So that's what basically we're doing. So you can duplicate it and put it in here. And this time it's going to be this -170. And then set tunnel direction to 1. So let's test it, and we can see that if it goes too high, then it just comes down in a zigzag. Because here it's at 170, well, -170, and here it's at 170, so it just goes down like we told it to. Now we can do the next step, where we're basically going to make these bigger, and we're going to make this gap a bit bigger. So we can first hide this original one and go to the costumes, and if you click on one, then there should be 3 arrows here. First one lets you do this, which we don't want to do. Second one does it the other way, and then the third one is right in the middle. I can't get it, so I'll zoom in, and it just lets you pull it lower to make it bigger. So we can do the same for both, so for the other one as well. Okay, there you go. And now we want to make the gap bigger, because that is a very small gap, so we can do that and that. And that should be a big enough gap. Now let's go back to the code, and we can just try this out. The code, and you see they're still not big enough. So we can go back to the costumes and make them even bigger. So let's zoom in more. Alright, let's zoom back out, and let's pull them backwards. Whoops, no. That's too big of a gap, I think. Now, I got it, so we can go back to the code and see what it does. And you can see there's no more hole like right here where it used to be, because they're long enough. So now we can do the next step, where we're basically going to do a pick random, and then if it equals 1, and the pick random will be from 1 to 10, and if it equals 1, then we will just change its direction to go the other way. So if right here, no, not there, there, if pick random equals 1, if pick random from 1 to 10 equals 1, then we will change the direction, which basically means we're going to direction. We're going to do 0 minus tunnel direction. We need to set tunnel direction to 0 minus tunnel direction. Whoops, what did I do? Okay, there we go. Tunnel direction set. And we can try it here, and we can see that sometimes it goes here, like for example right here, it goes up and then it decides to go down, up, down, because then the pick random equals 1. So whenever it changes like this, then that means the pick random will be 1. So here. And now we can do the next step, where we're basically going to get a sprite and make him walk through here. So let's get rid of the cat. We'll get someone. There's a human, so let's go to people. And we can get him because he's seen from top. So here he is. And obviously, let's make him smaller. That's really big. Let's see if he can fit through here. So yeah, he can pretty much fit. Maybe that's still too big. So 40 might do it. Yeah, 40 is good. So here we just want him to basically move with the keys. Forward, backward, left, and right. So forever, if, and so this part is very simple. If key up, then we want to change its Y by 10. Duplicate this. If down, change Y by minus 10, and then duplicate both of them. And here it will be change X by 10. If we do right, the right will be by 10, the left will be by minus 10. So there you go. Left, and then at the beginning we will want it to go in the very middle. That's a good spot to start. So there you go. Maybe I think it's too much when I press a key, he moves a bit too much because it's hard to control in such a small space. So instead of 10 and minus 10, we'll just make it minus 5 and 5. Well, 5 and minus 5. So there. That should be way better. Now we can go to one of the last steps, where we're going to do two things. So if it's touching this tunnel block, or any of these tunnel blocks, then it's going to die. And we're also going to make him look like he's moving, so we're going to change his costumes. Here we have 4 costumes. So he's still, he puts his left foot out still, and then right foot. So that's good. We'll just want to change costume. So next costume. So we'll actually make another when green flag clicked. And then forever change next costume and then wait a bit. Like not 1 second, but 0.5. Let's try that. That's too much of a wait. 0.1 maybe should do it. That is good. So now we can do the if touching tunnel. So if, well, okay, if touching, we're not going to do touching color. We're going to do touching sprite 2 because that's what the name of this is. If touching sprite 2, then say game over for 2 seconds and then stop all. Alright, so let's test it. And you can see he's walking, his costumes are changing, and then when he hits the side, it says game over, and then everything stops. Let's try the bottom. Yeah, alright, it does good. So now we can do another step where basically we're going to duplicate this, and we're going to make like a little laser shoot from the bottom one to the top one, or the top one to the bottom one. So we can duplicate this sprite with all of the code already in it. And then in costumes, we're just going to make this, we're going to make a little thing popping out right here. So we know if we're passing it, we know that it's going to shoot out a laser. So copy and paste. Oh, whoops. Alright. Alright, that's good. And then we're going to make another costume. So duplicate this costume. And we're going to make a line. So this line is going to shoot from this to this. So like that. Okay? That's not a very straight line, but it's okay. So we'll just go back to the code and we'll get this. So when, make sure you're in this code, and then when I start as a clone, we'll make a new one, and then when I start as clone, then forever change costume, which we'll do next costume, and before the next costume we'll actually put a weight. So weight 0.1 maybe, like the other one. Maybe a bit bigger, like 0.5. I don't know. No, more like 1 second. Yeah, 1 second should be fine. Now you can see that they're all with the laser, which is not good because that is just like almost impossible to get past. So we will only make some of these. So every 5 seconds one of these is going to appear, and the rest are going to be just normal, just blocks with no laser shooting through them. And then we're going to go to the human, and we're going to do a if touching this or the other sprite. So if touching sprite 2, or it's called sprite 3 for me. So if touching sprite 2 or sprite 3, do the same thing. And we're going to do the very last step where we're just going to change this guy's color. So in the forever, change color effect by, let's try 5. And there we go. We can see that is pretty cool looking. So we're not really going to, I don't think it's good to do it to this one, because whenever this one appears, you have to be like careful when it pops out, and the color might like make it hard to look. So we're just going to only make this one, not this one, change its color. And then we can name the project tunnel game and save it. And thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you next time for another game you can make on Scratch.